There's been a lot of talk about this new offense for the Kansas City Chiefs, and one guy's been left out of the conversation. We're going to talk about whether he can lead the NFL in rushing again, or what's going to happen with his teammates in the backfield. More on Kareem Hunt coming up right now. Welcome back to RGR Football. Today's a brand new day, and we're going to talk about Kareem Hunt. He's a guy that led the NFL in rushing in 2017, and he seems to be a little bit lost in the conversation about what the Chiefs' offense is going to evolve into in 2018. That's a lot to do with the quarterback, but we're going to talk about what that means in terms of the offense overall. Thank you for joining us. It's great to see you again. Welcome back to RGR Football, and I'm Ryan. I appreciate you guys tuning in, and it's been great going here the first couple of months of the channel. And if you're new to us, make sure you click the subscribe and the little bell notification so you know when we put something new up, as well as give me your comments and let us know what you think. If you would, share it with your friends and let us know so we can keep growing and keep this conversation going as we get ready for training camp, which is really just around the corner now. Kareem Hunt's a great example of a guy that comes in a little bit unheralded and makes his mark. He's not the fastest guy. He's not the biggest guy. He's not somebody that is heads and tails a marquee player. Well, until he goes off against New England and then he becomes one. But it's a little bit disturbing because he's kind of getting lost in the offense right now. He does things so well on a general level, from pass catching. He's picking up the blocking. Obviously, his running is great. He has that contact balance that everybody talks about and being able to take on concussive hits and keep on rolling. And it's a talent that's kind of unique to get to. But he's not alone. And the question is, the Chiefs have done a lot this offseason to bring in other talent at his position, partially because I think they have some offensive wrinkles they're going to change. But what does that mean for what he's going to do? Can he repeat as the NFL leading rusher? Is he going to lose ground to some of the other pass catchers? It's going to be a little bit of both. I think what you're going to see is the offense is going to revolve around Pat Mahomes so much, as we've talked about over the last couple of weeks. And what that does is make it so that maybe the opportunities, the carries are going to come down a little bit, I think, overall. And that's probably a tendency that Andy Reid's going to play into as well, because Andy called only 35.8% run plays last season. In 2018, I expect that to fall a little bit more because Andy's Andy. As much as I would like to see it come up and really run the ball about 40% of the time, especially with this cadre of backs that they have, I just don't think that's going to happen. And really, when you get to it, he's got the ball to move around, but the wrinkle is going to be that Kareem Hunt can catch passes very well, and you remember against New England as well as all season long. And that's a talent that not everybody has. And they're going to emphasize that. They're going to use him in some widespread formations. They're going to move him around and actually split him out some more than we're used to seeing, is what I think is going to go on early in the season. And what that means is there's going to be some opportunity for some other backs, and hopefully it also means that they're going to keep Kareem fresh. Now, as we look at the other options, they include Spencer Ware, who's coming back from a severe knee injury. And though he's touted as coming back, going to be ready for training camp, we'll see in a couple of weeks. But either way, I'm not convinced that he's going to be ready to go full speed. We've seen some of his training film. If you haven't, check out the Twitter feed at Ryan Tracy NFL. It's on there. And while he looks like he's coming along, it doesn't look like he's back to his explosive self or a guy that's ready to step into a starting role if Kareem were not able to go for a given week. Unfortunately, I just don't know where he's going to be. I expect, honestly, that he might start on the pup and be a guy that's going to have to come on later in the season. And if that is the case, it's going to open up roster spots for younger guys. The other incumbent, in fact, the guy on the roster that makes the most money, is Charcandrick West. A guy that dropped 10 pounds, came into camp at 195 last year. I expect him to do the same thing this year. He really is the most explosive in terms of raw speed of this cadre of backs, and I think he has to emphasize that in order to be productive. But he had a rough go last season. And honestly, in between the tackles, he can't offer a whole lot. He's best on the edge, but I will give him this. His edge against all these other backs is going to be that he can pass block. He knows the protections, and he's fairly effective at it. So I think that's a feather in his cap, and whether he's able to make the roster or not is going to come down to that balance of how many rounds can you go with a pass rusher and still come out on top to protect that young quarterback. And while it's not the running game that's going to be the determining factor, I think the passing game will. Now, beyond the two veterans, you have the three Williamses, brand new additions to the team in a various amount of ways. And first and foremost is Damien, who caught a lot of passes in Miami, ran hard, ran well. I think he's a guy that's kind of a well-rounded back that hasn't got a whole lot of opportunity, but he certainly could be in a position to fill the number 2. I think they're going to give him a look at that, especially if Spencer's not able to go early in camp. If Spencer Ware's not there for August, and maybe he's not going to be back till September or October, I think you're going to get a long look at Damien Williams. Now, the veteran of the group is going to be Kerwynn, who actually filled in fairly admirably for David Johnson out in Arizona last season. He's a guy who can run the ball well. I think he averaged 3.6 on last season. Yards per carry, but he's not a great pass catcher. At least he didn't get a whole lot of opportunity. And that's a wrinkle that in Andy Reid's offense you have to be able to accomplish. So he gives you one dimension, but maybe not both. And then that brings you to the rookie, the undrafted free agent Darrell Williams out of LSU, who I think is a dark horse to make this roster and maybe even play a pivotal role later in the season as players get banged up. I like Darrell's balance of attributes. He is a guy that, despite being 225 pounds, in fact, there's a number of them, we'll get to that in a second, but he's got the best, like, kind of one-cut plant and go ability. He is definitely a downhill runner that is best off-tackle kind of plays. He's okay in traffic. He can certainly gain some yards there. Had a great play against Alabama, another one against Breland and Ole Miss. Darrell's also a guy that pass protects pretty well, can play on those downs where he's not going to be getting the ball. He can also catch the ball and get downfield. He had a couple of really great plays. One against Alabama that I think was for a long gain on that kind of play. And also, he's a guy that can run the Wildcat of all things, which is always a wrinkle that, you know, with the little inside flips to Travis Kelce and anything else, if you can bring value to this roster for Andy, who wants to use every tool in the book, I think having a Wildcat running back that can actually pull it off is a boon in his cap. And I could see a couple of scenarios coming. When we boil it all down, when it comes down, I think you're going to see 4 running backs plus Anthony Sherman. Don't even get me started on Sherman. I want to see more this year, but I'm not going to hold my breath. When it comes down to it, though, I think we have a couple of guys, a couple of scenarios, really. It could be Hunt and the 3 Williamses, because they bring a little bit of experience, a lot of pass catching, and a young guy that could probably grow into a backup role and do it all. The other option would really to be keep Hunt, and if Ware's available and healthy, you go with him. And then it's talking about who can be the third down back. Is it West? Is it Damien? Is it Darrell? I think that's what it comes down to. And because of the salary, and because of his youth and a little bit light on production lately, I think Charcandrick West might be the guy that's out on the limb in this point. And it's going to be the thing to watch is going to be between Damien, Charcandrick West, and Darrell Williams. Those 3, I want to see them go head-to-head. And when you have Hunt, Ware, Damien, and Darrell, who are all over 220 pounds, I like what it brings to the Chiefs offense in terms of some robustness. Definitely, Kerwynn and Charcandrick are smaller backs that don't have the ability to run through tackles as much, but I think the Chiefs are in a good spot, and I can only hope that they'll run some eye more. But that's a look at what they can do. If you guys have comments, I want to know what you think. Who's the guy that you want to see get the ball when Kareem's not running it? Who's the guy that you think can make the biggest difference in the passing game? Because that's going to be super important for not only who makes the roster, but how they win games with Patrick Mahomes. So leave some comments down below. Let me know what you think. Coming as we get closer to training camp, I'm going to be doing some lives here on YouTube so that I'll let you know a little bit ahead of time so that we can do that together, get that chat going, and we'll talk about questions. I'll be at training camp at some point. We'll have reports from some other folks that may be guests on the channel soon, as well as doing some more of those radio appearances that I put up last week. So check those out. Let me know what you'd like to see, and I'll try to accomplish that as well. Appreciate you looking. If you want to look at any of the links in the notes below, that'll help us out. And I appreciate you watching, and I'll talk to you next time.